Chris, the Idaho painter. In this video, we're actually painting a stucco house. It has a lot of cracks in it. This house, it's got an extreme amount of cracks, hairline cracks, and a lot of them they're even larger than that. It was probably stuccoed in the wintertime up here in Boise, Idaho, which is a very common practice, which causes this stucco to not cure properly and get hairline cracks in it all over. And now we're attempting to hide all those cracks and get rid of them for the customer. The customer wants this stucco to not have any cracks anymore. They're willing to sacrifice caulking the cracks, and where that actually shows sometimes worse than the crack, but the customer wants the cracks caulked, and so we're caulking it, and then we're actually painting it with a product that's designed to span hairline cracks in stucco or concrete. And it's a product from Sherwin called Sherlastic, and we're spraying that on here. And some of these cracks are way too big for the product to span the gap of, so we're caulking them first and then spraying over it with the Sherlastic. And we're spraying it with a very large tip. We're using a 621 or a 623 tip to spray on a very thick coating, and we're trying to spray it about 20 mils thick. So you're spraying it on extremely thick so it'll span that gap of the cracks and give a nice flexible coating that won't snap and break. So we're going to show you that process of caulking these cracks and actually spraying it with our airless sprayer. And we're using a Titan 1140 sprayer set at about 2200 psi, spraying all this stucco. And typically, like I say, we don't like to caulk stucco, but the customer is more concerned about the cracks being covered than actually the crack itself. So the very large cracks that we don't believe that the Sherlastic will span the gap of, we're caulking them first and then spraying it. So we're going to show you that process right now. I got a few cracks right here. This is a pretty large crack right here, and we're spraying with an elastomeric coating that's designed to cover hairline cracks, and this crack is way too big, so you're going to see some of the caulking out here. It's not ideal to caulk the stucco because you'll typically always see where you caulked it just as bad as the crack itself, but the customer is more concerned about the crack. So these ones that the elastomeric coating is designed not to cover and span the gap, we're actually caulking these. And I'm just taking rubber gloves and using a caulking from Sherwin 950A and caulking these cracks. And you're just trying to put just enough caulking on there just to fill that crack in. And I'm just going along pumping it inside the crack. And once I get it filled, then I'm just daubing it with my hands, trying to blend it in. And that's an important step, just pressing it with your hands and not actually just making a smooth line. So you kind of want to daub it to push it into the stucco and blend it into the stucco. Here's another pretty large crack right here. So I'm getting the caulking down. I'm just going to take and daub it. Trying to make the stucco kind of rough, or the caulking kind of rough so it blends into the stucco. Trying to give you a closer look of these cracks in the stucco right here. Here's one of them. This is larger than what we would consider a hairline crack. Just another look at a bunch of cracks on this side, and these all the cracks that we're actually caulking are larger than hairline cracks. So here's a look at our 1140. We've got it set up right here, spraying this Sherlastic product right here. And here's a look. It's Sherlastic and it's an elastomeric coating from Sherwin-Williams. Got it tinted to the color the customer wants, and 1140 set up right here, 2200 psi, using 621 and a 623 tip to actually spray this product. So this is all the setup right here. Closer look at our Titan 1140. You can easily set the pressure to what we want because it's got a digital readout on it. Got to give you a close look of how thick it is on here. Sprayed on extremely thick. You go a lot slower than you typically would with a regular airless spray and spraying regular paint. So you get a really good thick mil thickness. Stuff's supposed to go on 20 mils thick. So some of the key points while you're spraying this stuff, just make sure you go extremely slow. So you can watch in the video, watch us spraying it. We're going probably twice as slow as we typically would on a regular house, because you got to get that buildup on the stucco so the elastomeric will get on there thick enough to the proper mill thickness and do its job of spanning the gaps of those hairline cracks and basically creating a nice flexible rubber seal that will span those cracks, because they'll actually expand and contract over the winter time versus summertime, so those cracks will get bigger and smaller, and that elastomeric coating will flex and not actually snap and break if applied properly over those cracks, so you won't see them again. Here's a look at the side. We've already sprayed this side and I've inspected it for cracks, and you can't see any of the cracks anymore on the side of the house whatsoever. They're covered 100%. Also, one thing to keep in mind when you're actually spraying this extremely thick product, it's super thick, kind of like the product we use, Steel Bond or Primar X, and you got to use a really large tip to spray it, but you also got to change out your filters on your gun or your machine. We change our gun filters out to a 30 mesh filter. We typically run 100 mesh filters in our guns, but you're going to have a real problem with that thick product going through those filters, so make sure you change out your gun filters.
He is so annoying. Stop!
Where are you going?
What are you doing?
Videoing you.
That's annoying.
Just act like I'm not here.
Why? You're here.
No, I'm not.
Oh my gosh, that's so rude. Have you ever heard of privacy?